All right, everybody, welcome to New Media Patriot Radio, the show about you, the concerned citizen, the silent majority, the politically incorrect, the social media patriot fighting every single day to restore American values and exceptionalism. You can follow me on Twitter at ThePatriot143 or on our show Twitter at NMP Radio, stands for New Media Patriot Radio. And if you want to get your voice heard and you want to be a guest on the show, you can simply email us at New Media Patriot Radio. Also, we are being syndicated via rebootingliberty.com and also on the new home of Conservative Talk Radio via ICRN or conservativeradionetwork.com. So, before I do a little house cleaning here, let me just say that a lot of people are not aware that it is actually a federal crime to protest anywhere where the Secret Service is involved. And we're going to be discussing that later on in the show with my co-host, Bill Mitchell. But before we get to Bill, I just got to do a little house cleaning here. Please visit my website, newmediapatriotradio.com. We are actively looking for political bloggers. If you are a writer, a blogger, and are looking to get some exposure for your writings, email me at newmediapatriot.com. Also, the number to call here, it is 347-338-1775. And welcome to the Silent Majority on New Media Patriot Radio. I am your host, Chris. And today's going to be quite interesting. I have the call boards already lit up. And I want to thank everybody who's been listening to me and who has been participating in what we're doing here, what we're trying to do here. But the call boards are already lit up, and I'm just going to welcome in my co-host for the day, Bill Mitchell. How are you, Bill?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great, Bill. And Bill, you were on a previous show, but you had it was I think it was a little mini Super Tuesday that we were having, and you were like a little pressed for time, and we did have some technical issues. I hope I resolved those for you.
Yeah, they're better. The last one was a little bit like being interviewed in the Grand Canyon. Everything I said, I got to hear it back to myself about 2 seconds later. So it took a little while to get used to, but once I was used to it, it was okay.
Yeah, and you know what? Today's going to be kind of hectic too, because the reason why I was having technical issues was because my engineer was on vacation, and today I have no call screener, so I'm basically flying blind. So I'm going to try my best here at doing everything here, taking the calls and stuff like that.
Okay, well, it'll go great. We'll have fun.
All right. Well, listen, we have a couple of callers already on the line. I'm just going to welcome one of them in right now.
Okay.
How you doing, caller? Where are you calling from?
My name was Marsha. I don't know if you're talking to me or not.
Yes, Marsha. How are you?
Oh, okay, great. Calling from Kentucky, and where we've already made our stand for Trump, and where I can't believe Northern Kentucky was for Cruz. I really can't believe that. I don't believe it, and I won't believe it because those people need jobs, and they are not. I've spoken with many of them. They weren't for Cruz, but that's water under the bridge. Well, we won't talk about that. We're talking about Ohio now, but you mentioned the HR 347-2. I wish Trump would evoke that, but just so the listeners who are listening, that's the bill, that's the law that actually President Obama signed in, that you cannot protest at any event that the Secret Service are involved in. So for instance, the two front runners, they have been issued Secret Service protection. So it is actually a federal crime. So go ahead. I'm sorry. No, that's fine. You're right. I didn't introduce that. Yeah, I'm reading it now off of Bill Mitchell's tweet. It says, and it was from Erica4OU. She says that of a building or grounds where the president or other person protected by the Secret Service is or will be temporarily visiting, it is a federal crime. I wish Trump would do more, but then hey, I'm not Trump. I want to let Trump be Trump, and so far he's doing pretty darn well. The protesters are just disruptive. I'm not so sure that just jailing them would help, because that's probably a way of life for them, although it would slow them down. I do think that's a good point. I do think he'll ever go ahead with this.
Bill?
As far as prosecuting the protesters?
Yes.
Excuse me, pardon me, but I think that he mentioned something about that earlier today, that he's considering it. they're considering going after the protesters, and I think they should. People misunderstand unless you've actually been to a rally and seen these protesters, people misunderstand who these folks really are. Because I've been to 2 rallies, and it's typically 95 to 98% of them look like college kids out for fun, And if you're in a big rally with 10, 15, 20,000 people, you literally, when they first start protesting, you cannot even hear them. It's not like all of a sudden the whole thing is shut down. There's chaos. You can't even hear them. You only know they're there because the supporters standing around them start saying Trump, 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 right, to get them out.
Right.
So it's not nearly as disruptive as you would think. And then as they're being let out, the media, of course, all, focuses their cameras on them, hoping something terrible happens. But they typically go out flashing the peace sign, taking selfies of themselves, videotaping things so they can tell all their friends they were a big hero,
right.
And, waving their arms and so on and so forth. They walk out, everybody laughs, and then we go on. It's not, this big racist, violent scrum that the media would have you think it is.
Exactly.
It's nothing like that at all.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So do you have another question? I have other callers on the line.
Oh, I would like to see Ted Cruz's records unsealed. The fact that he sealed his and his mom's records.
His you're talking about his citizenship records. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, and only he can unseal these.
Right, and that's been an issue. And I've been reading up on it. And again, I didn't want to I didn't want to delve into this Bertha issue and stuff like that, because it gets really convoluted. But the more you dig into it, the more you realize that, he may not be qualified to run for president according to the Constitution. But
he's hiding something, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I think Trump's health care plan is really, really important. Okay. I know my family, they would really like to know more about the health care plan, and they don't go out to the website and read. It's all, we have to get it out there to them.
Right.
Well, that's something that Bill and I spoke about when he was on my show previously. We said that Donald Trump should be memorizing these papers that he has on his website and continuously preach these papers. I don't know if it's a tactic that he's using. I don't know what's going on, but I think he should so that people can, I mean, they'll find something else to complain about so that people can stop complaining about the fact that he has no issues. He has no policies, but he does. But I want to thank you for calling, okay? And don't be a stranger. I want you to
welcome entirely.
Thank you, and I want you to call next time. Keep listening, okay?
I certainly will.
Thank you.
See you later, Bill.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thank you. Let me interject something here real quickly
Sure.
that people don't understand about Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is a strategic thinker.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, most people are linear thinkers. Okay, Right. They go from the bottom up. Okay, they take the evidence, and they draw a conclusion. Donald Trump draws a conclusion and he builds back from there.
Right.
Okay, and so that means that he is able to put pieces in place that are going to get to that conclusion that may not make sense to everybody else as he's putting them in place.
Okay.
But then once he gets further down the line, it all comes together, and it seems absolutely brilliant. Like, wow, where did that come from?
Yeah, it's.
And I think that when we say, let me just finish my thought real quick. I think that when we say that, why isn't Trump going into more detail on this? Why isn't he going into more detail on that? It's not that he doesn't have the ability or he doesn't have a good memory and he can't remember these things to talk about. It's that he doesn't think the timing is right yet.
Right.
Okay. And when the timing is right, he always strikes. And I think now that he's got Carson on his team, I think that it would be a very natural thing to have Carson sort of spearhead that whole effort into the health care plan and all that.
Right. Exactly. Well, you're listening to The Silent Majority here on New Media Patriot Radio. I'm your host, and on the Rebooting Liberty Hotline, I have my co-host for the day, Bill Mitchell. He is a strong advocate. He's been advocating for Donald Trump since the start. I mean, I've been watching him closely. We're gonna be discussing more about Bill and why he became a Donald Trump supporter. But I have so many calls on the line, and I want to pick him up. The 212 number, I'm flying blind here. I don't have a screener. So the 212 number, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Sally.
Hi, Sally. How are you?
Sally.
Hi, Sally. How are you?
Hi. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Good afternoon. I'm so glad you're doing this. This is really important to get some alternative media going.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the mainstream media, I call it the lamestream media, in general, needs to know that they have forgotten their journalist creed. Walter Cronkite and Edward R. Murrow would be just rolling in their graves to hear what is going on in our media right now. It is so disgusting. It is appalling. It is an insult.
You know, Sally. You know, Sally. We spoke about this. I spoke about this on my on show number 32 about how now you have these the same millionaires that are buying up mainstream media are now buying up websites such as Breitbart and the Daily Wire. They're being bought up by the same people, like Robert Mercer. He basically paid $11 million for Breitbart. People don't know that, and he's a hedge fund guy who is a huge Ted Cruz donor. And I think that's why I said it on my show. I said this is why this new medium is very important to get our message across.
It's critical. In fact, it's critical. I felt I sent a tweet directly to Jake Tapper today after he had Rubio rant, and I felt like he was an insult to his very profession, that he, not only has he forgotten the journalist creed, but he's been paid. They've all been taken over. It isn't super PACs that control only candidates. Yeah.
We're going, you're bringing up Jake Tapper, and later on we're going to be discussing the interview this morning between.
I don't mean to single him.
No, I know, but
I don't mean to single him out.
No, you're not singling him out, but I am, because we're going to be discussing the interview between him and Donald Trump and how disgusted I was with that interview. It happened this morning, and I have the transcripts, and we're going to be going over that later on. So stay tuned for that, and I want to thank you for calling in and continue to listen.
I'd like to say one more thing, if I might, very briefly.
Sure.
I do live in New York, and I'm very concerned about the way New York will vote, but I think there's a good, strong chance that they may vote for their hometown boy done good.
Yeah, and it's not only about being a hometown. It's not only about being a hometown boy, but you have a lot of Democrats here that are fed up. Working class Democrats that are fed up, that are paying, a middle class that are paying their taxes, and they've seen the light. They see what's going on. So I think he has a very strong chance to get those
northern.
Yeah, especially northern New York. You have a lot of Reagan Democrats up there. So I think he can win New York.
I think so too.
All right,
I think that
Sally, thank you for calling. Okay.
Yeah.
Continue to listen. Okay.
Thank you for taking the time.
You're welcome.
Carry on.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that a dynamic that's happening in this election is something that was building back in 2012, but we really didn't have the right candidate for it. Is that we have, everybody talks about conservative purity and liberal purity and all these purity tests and all this stuff. I don't think that this is an election about ideological purity. People say, what party and what political philosophy is Donald Trump? I call Donald Trump a resultist. Okay?
I like that. I like that.
Believes in results.
I like that.
Okay, he's a guy that believes in results, and he used to lean more to the left,
right,
because he's a big-hearted guy, and he believed he wasn't a politician, right, and so he believed from the outside looking in as a big-hearted guy that maybe Democrat policies would get better results to help the unfortunate and so on and so forth. But then Barack Obama took the office of the presidency, and we got to see liberalism on full display. And what happened
on steroids
during that period of time?
Liberalism.
Obama.
Go ahead.
On steroids. Yeah,
on steroids.
Trump looked at Obama and said to himself, "That's okay." Trump looked at Obama and said to himself, "Wait a minute. This political philosophy doesn't get results.
Right.
It doesn't get results." And so Trump moved to the right because he realized conservatism does get results. So Trump is, I believe, isn't a conservative because he believes that conservatism came to man on a sunbeam, or that it came from a voice from heaven and so on and so forth. He believes in conservatism because he believes it is the right policy to get the results America wants. And we've gone far too long. We've gone 30 years as a nation since Ronald Reagan before we've had